Okay, everyone. What a great crowd on such a cold night. Looks like some professionals out here that have done very well. I want to welcome everyone to the Walton County Board of Commissioners meeting. We have one commissioner sick. We have one stuck in an ice storm, and I think the other one's en route. So is what it is. But we have enough to get started. And we're going to start. We have a retiree within the Walton County government, and I'm going to call on Tommy Knight, if I saw him here, to come up and recognize Rick Demiris and for all the good work he's done for Walton County. And a lot of us, like myself, property owners, gave Rick a hard time over the years. He's one of the assessors, and I didn't always agree with him, but he did his job. So, Rick, congratulations on that. Tommy?
I'll just say a few words if I could. I came here about 10 years ago. This is a 20-plus year employee that put in for the same job when I did. When I got here, there was no animosity, no anything. He brought me in, took me through the ropes of how Walton County was doing business at the time, showed me the employees, walked me through that process, and I don't occupy you all night, but more than a worker, this is a good man right here, and that takes a strong person to be able to do that for somebody else coming in the door, and I've never forgot that, and hopefully that'll reflect on me as I get ready to retire in another few years, and I can give somebody that same thing. So, Rick, I appreciate everything you've done for this office in this county.
Okay, I'm going to ask the head of our rec department, Jody, if he would come up. We have youth football champions here tonight, the 7 and under Monroe Hurricanes, and youth soccer, Class A state champions, 8 and under co-ed. So we're going to recognize all the kids that have done so well. Jody, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, if I could get Quay Ivey to come on up. He's our head coach of the football team, the 7U. You don't remember, the same team came up here last year when they won the state championship at 6U, or the NGYFA, which is the North Georgia Youth Football League. And these guys went 5-1 in the regular season and then went on a really good run in the playoffs where they beat Jefferson 42-0, Flowery Branch 42-0, Stevens 21-14, and in the championship, what they call the Super Bowl, they beat North Cherokee Bluff 13-6. So congratulations, Coach. We've got some rings for your players. So if you could call them out, and then we'll do the cheerleaders, and then we'll get the picture. So.
We don't have them all here tonight. I think we have about 21, but we only have like 14 here. So I'm going to start with who I see. Number 99, Brantley Taylor. Number 55, Matthew Saxton. Number 13, Keith Hughes. Number 22, Amir Big Baby Blue. Number 27, Mason. Number 32, River. Number 11, Camden. Number 2, Tremere. Number 9, the favorite player of the team, my center. Hey, the ball don't snap, we can't do anything else. Cohen Moss. Number 7, Jay Allen Moss. Number 82, Parker. Number 3, Jay. Number 15, Hayden. Number 16, Copeland. These are all the players that I have in attendance for tonight. I'm going to send up my coaches, Coach Ricks, Coach Ken Hillman, Coach Luke Moss.
Y'all come up.
Awesome season by these guys. Awesome season by these guys. Last year they went undefeated. Last year was a little easier because nobody seen us coming. This year, everybody seen us coming. We had one hiccup the second game of the season, the hard-fought loss to Elbert County down in Elberton, 28-26 in double overtime. But the resilience of these kids to come back and do what they did and rip off wins for the rest of the season, everybody thought they had us, but they're not even close. They have no idea.
We also have the girls that work very, very hard. I'm not saying the football team doesn't work hard, but cheerleaders are out there supporting you. So we want to call the cheerleaders out as well.
We don't have all of ours here tonight either, but Morgan Blackburn. Julie Hope Lanier. Caroline Burkholder. Caroline. Sadie Taylor. Harper Moss. Brooklyn Smith.
Try to get them to bunch up where they can get it all in one piece. Congratulations, y'all did a great job.
Thanks.
Congratulations! Go Games!
And we also have our Georgia Recreation and Parks Association, which is where our All-Star Soccer program runs through. And Bobby Katzman is here today. Come on up, Bobby. This team is an all-star team. From our regular season, they join together and make a team to play in that tournament. And they beat DeKalb County 10-0 to go to state. And then once they were at state, they beat Bartow 2-1 in an overtime game. They beat Albany 8-2, and in the state championship, they beat the powerhouse, which normally runs the table, Dalton, 3-0. So congratulations to them to bring us a state championship. I'll leave this to you.
Thank you, Jody. Just talk about the team real quick. Last year we went up there, we thought we had a really good team, and as Jody mentioned, you go up to Dalton, I mean, soccer's king up there, and they thumped the fool out of us, and we were humbled pretty quick. For many years, yeah, I got one that's 13 years old. He's been going up there since 8, and a couple times we didn't even want to go back. But I talked several of the kids from that team last year, because we were young, so everyone wanted to move up even though they were young. And we ended up having 7 returners, and we added some really good pieces to go with it. And I did a better job of bringing coaches that knew soccer to help me out. And we prepared the boys really well, and they did really good. So Before we start calling names, let's just give them a round of applause for those going back and coming back. Okay, first one, Carter Lockman. Oh, goes to Jay. Nico. King Formoso. Caden Connolly. Grant Moyers. Doremus Williams. KJ Jackson. King Phillips. Cole Durden. Dallas Foster. Caleb Johnson. Makai Katzman. And I'm going to call up the coaches real quick. Like I said, I brought in a lot of help this time. They made me look a lot better than I really am. We're going to go Dinko. Tyler Lockman. Justin Durden. And then Zach Johnson. Thank you all very much.
That's something to be proud of. I want to thank you parents and you coaches and you players for doing such a great job. And it takes time. Coaching takes time out of parents' lives to see that these kids have this experience, and this county supports what y'all do. And want to thank all of you. So. We will take a quick break for those that don't want to stay for the business part of our meeting and give y'all a chance to leave about 5 minutes, and then we'll start the regular board meeting. If some of you young guys want to see the government at work, it's very boring, but you're welcome to stay. So we'll take about a 5-minute break, and those that want to leave can go to a warmer place. Thank y'all.
you're gonna blow away.
Okay, everyone, thanks for being patient and let them get out. If we'll start off by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation. If everyone would please stand.
Father, thank you so much for this day. Please watch over us tonight and help us make the best decisions for the people of Walton County. Please be with them as they go home tonight, and please be with us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I officially call our meeting to order, and the roll call, Commissioner Bradford is out sick. Commissioner Adams is somewhere in Ohio trying to get out of ice storm. So show 2 vacancies. You have before you the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Discussion, county manager's report and update. John?
Okay, I've got some updates and then some scheduling things that we need to cover and everything. We're about to, following this, we're going to have the presentation of the 2024 audit, and just want to thank the Finance Department for all the hard work that they've done on that. In addition to your regular operating budget, your enterprise fund of the Water Department, they've worked through 3 of the largest projects in Walton County's history, which are the brand new jail, Walton Park, West Walton Park, not West Walton Park, the Grove Park in Walnut Grove, and our project that we'll be breaking ground on soon, which is the brand new water intake down at Hard Labor Creek. So all of that just added a lot of a different addition and difficulty to their tasks this year. Next, with Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation is in the, they're in the organizational phase of setting up pickleball leagues. These leagues will start in the early spring, and that's to accommodate both inside courts that we now have as well as outside courts, as well as potentially the new courts that we're building in between and in Loganville at Meridian Park that we're planning there. So just due to the sheer demand for those sites, they've got some different ideas that they're going to be carrying out. In the Water Department, we've got a lot of different projects going on, water extensions, but the main thing I wanted to point out to you is that for the first time in Walton County's history, we hit over 18,004 active customers throughout the county. In the Human Resources Department, we're moving forward. We've got budget prep obviously coming up and everything, but we now, they're servicing 914 current employees. So you can just imagine all the different things that are going on there, as well as providing information to all the different departments on the necessary information for the budget as we move forward. In solid waste, we continue to have a just unprecedented participation in our mattress collection. In December, Kenny Sargent's reporting that everybody must have got a mattress for Christmas because we had over 276 mattresses dropped off just in the month of December. And if you remember, we didn't have a program for that, and you can't take a mattress to the landfill. All these mattresses are getting recycled, but most importantly, we're really cutting a lot of mattresses down from being dumped on roadsides throughout Walton County, and that's making a huge impact. Also, they're reporting that the minimum charge of $5 and the renewed push for green bag system has been very beneficial, and it's helped a lot of the traffic at the scales at the recycling facility. In emergency management, wanted to make everybody aware that we're in the process of updating our hazard mitigation plan. It's a requirement for the county to, one, have a plan in place, but also to be deemed eligible for reimbursement from declarations of emergency and disaster. We're going to have public input meetings on January 21st starting at 10, February 18th starting at 10, and March 18th starting at 10. All of these will be at the Walton County Governmental Building located at 303 South Hammond Drive, and they're all open to the public. The current hazard mitigation plan is online under emergency management, and we welcome any kind of suggestions and/or input concerning that, because it really is a public document that we need to work forward on. Tons and tons of projects through facilities. A couple to note that we're going to be moving forward with a roof replacement on the Now Recreation Center. We're going to be doing a remodel on station number 13, fire station number 13, and additional improvements out at the Public Works facility themselves. On fire, the biggest thing with fire is just here one weekend. We've already had 3 to 4 major fires throughout the county. A lot of that's to do with temperature, but there's other circumstances at play with the high winds. Just want to caution everybody and keep a heads up and extra attention on those type issues. Under Public Works, we're moving forward and doing a cross drain replacement on Paul Smith Road. They're also doing additional work at they're doing the pickleball courts in between, and that's one of the reasons that we're able to do those at such a low cost, because of the joint effort across the divisions between Parks and Rec and Public Works. We've got the operators that can do the work, so it's much cheaper if we do it ourselves moving forward. Also, the South Walton Community Complex, the dam down there that we had problems with that failed, that has been repaired, and as I was checking it last night, and the water level is nicely starting to return in that area. Now, House Bill 581. House Bill 581 was passed by the Georgia General Assembly in 2024. It was voted on by the taxpayers, and it was a question on the ballot about whether or not to allow there to be a homestead exemption statewide. That was a heavily supported bill, and it did pass, and then the General Assembly moved forward with adopting that. House Bill 581 grants a statewide homestead exemption that limits the increases of taxable value on residential homes, owner-owned residential homes, no more than the inflationary rate that occurred the prior year. It allows local governments to elect to opt out of this homestead exemption within their jurisdiction so that it will not apply to them. And it authorizes local governments to go back to the voters for a potential floating local option sales tax, to where if a homestead is enacted, then you can pass a floating local homestead sales tax to replace that revenue. The intricate thing about Walton County is that in 2002, voters overwhelmingly passed local legislation to have a homestead exemption. So beginning in 2003, individuals were able to file for homestead. The property that they filed was locked in. There's no inflationary increases. So people who bought and filed in 2003, now in 2025, are still being taxed on the value of the property or their home that it was in 2003. Because that homestead exemption that has been in place, there's 18 across the state, because that one that's in place is more advantageous to the homeowners, the county is required to opt out. If we were even able to, opt in, all home values that were locked in would go away, and we would use the new valuation. The new valuation moving forward, and there's 22,405 homes locked in. So one of the difficulties that we have is that we're running under current operations based on some homes that are being assessed at 2003 values. The total exemptions over all of that time is $1,319,253,337. If we were to move forward with the new option, the county would realize an additional gain of $13,737,385. So $13,737,385 of additional new tax. We're forced under the new state law to opt out because we're going to give the taxpayers the better deal, which was what was already in place. So there's going to be some confusion because all the cities and the school system also have that option. They were not honoring the homestead exemption, so therefore there is the potential to have a major impact, and they're making that decision totally independent of the county. But because of our existing homestead exemption, if currently right now our millage rate is 10.413, if we were to realize that additional 13 million, we would be able to roll the property tax back to 7.5. So that's some of the different numbers that we're working on. When we move forward with opting out, because we're required to, because we already have a better deal, we still have to advertise that and have public information meetings to where we explain that to the public. This is just a little bit of a preview of that. So all of this was, so it was passed. You couldn't do anything before January, but you have to be done by March 1st. So it was there's a big push. There's already ads in the paper for the school system, which intends to opt out. I believe you'll see additional ads coming out from all the cities, which have chosen to opt out. But our situation is so different, we'll be running additional ads. And I'm going to be recommending tonight, just letting you know, unless there's any opposition, that we're going to set up meetings. For those public meetings, they have to be the same as during our tax and budget process. So there has to be one during the day. There has to be 3 different meetings. We're going to set up February 3rd, which is a Monday, to have meetings at 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And then we will have a third meeting at 5 o'clock on February 11th before the regularly scheduled county commission meeting, so that when everybody's already here, we can go over this together one last time, and then there will be a resolution on the February meeting that will explain all of this, but also meet the requirement that the state has set up on us to formally adopt a resolution opting out, stating why, and sending that into the state so that they can move forward with how they're going to be tracking all of this. So those are the additional dates to meet these deadlines. It is kind of compacted, but we will be working with our public information officer, Ben, to get out additional information. We'll be placing ads and information in the Tribune. We'll be using social media, and we'll have those 3 additional. And I also encourage you at any time, I'd be glad to go over some of this because it is confusing. And the vote was, the intent was, of the legislature was for everybody to opt in, but they carved out those exceptions for us that have more lucrative for the citizen options. But those jurisdictions within the county that are going to opt out, they're going to have to go through a public hearing process too to explain why they're doing what they're doing, as opposed, we're the only one right now that has a homestead exemption, with the exception of Loganville. They have a $2,000 exemption, and the legislation is written so that if you have a $2,000 exemption, the new one is on top of that. so it's even more beneficial. But that's how we're going to move forward with educating everybody, but that would be basically, because of our existing homestead exemption, we have no other option but to opt out and move forward with that. And that concludes my report for you tonight.
Do we need to make a motion and adopt those dates for the meeting? No? Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to finance then. And we have a presentation of our audit. Malden and Jenkins. And Hopalong Cassidy.
Hey everyone, here to represent Malden and Jenkins is Ryan Jones. He's going to give y'all a presentation of our the FY24 audit.
Thank you, Jenna. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it's good to see you all again. On behalf of Malden and Jenkins, I want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity again to perform the county's financial statement audit for fiscal year 2024. Personally, this is the 5th year that I've got to be a part of the engagement team in different capacities. I think I've told you this story before, but this was the very first audit that I worked on when I moved here about 4 years ago from New Mexico, and so it's special to me. So I just want to reiterate that we're very thankful that we're able to continue to earn your business. So I'm here to go over the results of the fiscal 2024 audit. And this presentation, you all should have copies of this in a PDF. It does have all of our required communications for governance. I'm not going to go through every single one of them tonight, just in the interest of time, but that information is available to you in this document. And just a little bit about Malden and Jenkins. We serve 725 government clients, more than 725 throughout the Southeast. I work with a great group of people. About 150 of us are solely dedicated to working on government audits, so counties, cities, school districts. So we have a lot of experience in that, and it's nice when we're able to take that knowledge and help out our other clients. So our audit opinion, this is what you hire us for. Our responsibility is to perform an audit in accordance with professional standards and issue an opinion based on the results of that audit. And for fiscal 24, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly the balances and results of operations for the county for fiscal year 2024. So that's an unmodified opinion in accounting language. It's the highest level of assurance that an independent CPA firm can give on a set of statements. So congratulations on that. Do want to point out that while we're comfortable with all the numbers, there are some rather large estimates embedded in your financial statements. Some of the more minor ones are like depreciation, allowance for doubtful accounts. I do want to point out that for pension, there's some pretty serious estimates in your net pension liability and the associated balances. So at June 30th, 2024, if you were to look at your statement of net position or the county's balance sheet, essentially, there's about $14.5 million. It's a net reduction to net position, not in the current year, but overall. And that has to do with your pension liability and related deferred inflows and outflows. So, those numbers could be larger, they could be smaller. The actuaries work with the best information that they have, and we rely on the work of the actuaries for those numbers. I do want to point out that our relationship with management is great. Obviously there's been some changes in the finance department this year, but we have a great working relationship. Jennifer and I stay in touch a lot during the year. She'll ask questions, and we'll research, and we do a lot during the year to prepare for the audit. There weren't any sort of significant disagreements during the audit. All of the audit adjustments that we identified that needed to be posted were posted, so there are no uncorrected misstatements. And I do want to point out also that we are independent auditors, so nobody on the engagement team or at the firm has any sort of conflict of interest with the county that would impair that independence. I'm going to go over some just some financial information here. This is specific to fiscal 2024 and also specific to your general fund, which is your primary operating fund. Revenues in 2024, the largest source there is taxes, obviously. About $70.6 million in revenue came through the general fund in fiscal 24, and that's compared to $64 million in the prior year. So that tax revenue grew during 2024. The rest of the makeup of the types of revenue streams that you have coming through the general fund stayed relatively consistent. Moving on to expenditures, this is specific to the general fund. The largest expenditure group in your general fund is public safety at 41%. This year saw about $28.8 million in public safety expenditures in the general fund. And that's compared to prior year of about $24.2 million. So those costs are going up a little bit. And the second largest is just general government, general administration. That's about $13.3 million in fiscal 24 compared to about $13.1 million in the prior year. So those have remained relatively steady. This gives you an idea of the excess of revenues over expenditures, and as you can see in the general fund each year going back to 2020, you have more revenues than expenditures, which is what you would hope for. That gap, the revenues in excess of expenditures for 2024, that was about $16 million. Last year it was $17.4 million. So, expenditures rose just a little bit more than the revenues did. Total revenues for the general fund in 2024 was 86 million compared to 77 million in 2023. Expenditures, 70 million total in 2024 compared to 60 million in 2023. And I know the general fund unassigned fund balance is something that you all like to pay attention to. So this is the residual equity in the general fund that's not restricted to any sort of programs. It hasn't been assigned or committed by the commission. That number in 2024, as of June 30th, rose to 71.5 approximately, $71.5 million. The balance at June 30th of 2023 was $62 million. So that unassigned fund balance is continuing to grow. So during our audit, we have a responsibility to consider internal controls and also to communicate with you all, with the commission, if we identify any sort of deficiency in internal controls that's either a significant deficiency or material weakness. I have 2 material weaknesses that we reported in the financial statements for fiscal 2024. They're really carryovers from the prior year. And I do want to say that throughout the process of us working through these issues and kind of seeing where things went off the rails, I think the finance department is set up to where in the future, you're not going to have these types of issues, but I'm still required to communicate them to you. This first bullet point here, the county improperly recorded accrued interest payable in the Public Facilities Fund, which is a governmental fund. The basis of accounting for governmental funds does not include the reporting of accrued interest payable. So that was an adjustment of about $660,000 that we identified that needed to be removed in accrued interest. The second bullet here in the water and sewer fund, specific to the Series 2022 revenue bonds, interest payments had been improperly recorded as investment earnings. So that was really just a reclassification from investment earnings or losses to interest payments, and that adjustment was about $1,018,000. Moving on, the top bullet here, additionally, interest payments were identified during the bank reconciliation process, but also recorded to an investment earnings account, and this was with the Industrial Building Authority revenue bonds for the jail facility. That adjustment amounted to about $1.88 million, and smaller issue, but still we included it in here just because it falls under debt accounting. The county did not record the amortization of deferred charges from refunding and bond premiums, and those adjustments totaled $510,000. Financial close and reporting, I just wanted to point out a couple of additional adjustments that we had to make. Investment earnings in the ARPA fund were not recorded accurately, so an adjustment of about $500,000 was required to get those investments to fair value based on the statements that we were able to see and audit. And then the county has a lease receivable reported on its books, and it hadn't been adjusted from the prior year. It's pretty significant. It's about $900,000 that we had to post to adjust those balances. And I also want to point out that, these are all accounting entries, so it's not like we found where interest payments weren't being made or anything like that. It's just when it came time to put that information into the accounting software, there were just a couple errors there. And that's it as far as the audit findings. I do want to point out, effective for this year, GASB has told us that compensated absences need to be reported differently, so I'll be working with the finance team over the next several months, getting prepared for the fiscal 25 audit, where that calculation will just be a little bit different. And then there are some other accounting pronouncements on the horizon that will impact the county, but I think we get a couple years reprieve. But all that information is in this document that you've been provided with.
Okay, and the dings that you, at the end of the report, were interest not reported in the right place on the forms, but there's no fraud or anything like that?
No, sir. We did not find any sort of fraud. It's just
right.
putting money in one bucket when it should have been in another bucket as
In
far
another
as
bucket.
accounting goes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, just want to make that clear.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
But you have a couple resolutions.
I'm good. The next one we have is the budget amendment and project linked budget resolution for the now pickleball courts. Looking at an total project budget being $207,350,000 that would be coming out of SPOS money to provide funds for this project.
Okay, this is for 8 more pickleball courts at Ayers Park, right?
Now center.
Oh, this is the roof and the pickleball courts.
It's just it's resurfacing the court surfaces on the interior of the gym.
Okay,
Provide some access control. I think we're only going to be able to get 6 in there.
Okay.
I measured the gyms, and it's going to be about 6, but it's floor resurfacing.
And marking the pickleball court.
Marking the pickleball.
Okay.
Add some access control, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, it's a dual surface.
They'll still be able to play basketball.
Yeah, and it'll provide some cushion, so it won't be as hard. It's a little.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve this budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Passes unanimous. All right, and the fiscal 25 budget amendment.
This resolution, most of these budget amendments is what was approved during November for the sheriff and getting the new personnel. This is just doing a budget amendment to the budget. And then coroner has to increase their expenditures for a vehicle that was needed, which would have resulted in a decrease in the fund balance. And then 911 was, they had a vehicle that was damaged, and this would get them a replacement vehicle. We have already received the funds from the insurance, so it's not a huge increase or decrease in the fund balance. It's just in the amount of $31,823. for that vehicle, because we received funds from the insurance on that. And then,
The two vehicles were authorized by me. They were necessary because, one, we were going to wait until the budget process to request the vehicle for the coroner. The vehicle didn't decide to cooperate. And then the other one was another rear end collision of a vehicle that we needed to replace. But we already had the insurance. So other than that, the Sheriff's Department budget adjustments were exactly like what we're talking about at the last meeting that we're already voted on.
I added them all up, and with the credits, it's $3,007,267.81, if I added correctly. And that's a little bit under what we had discussed and approved. Okay.
And that's part of a phased-in approach.
To the new staffing. Right. Okay, any questions, more questions from the board on this amendment? Need to entertain a motion to approve it.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimous. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Through with
Mr. Chairman,
finance and
do we
other.
need to approve the audit, accept the audit.
Yes, we do, don't we? Thank you, Commissioner Dixon. We need to have a motion to accept the audit,
I'll make that motion.
and we need a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Thank you, Commissioner Dixon. All right, now to Planning Commission recommendations.
Give me just a second, yeah, so that y'all can see these. Hold on one second. Do y'all want me to pull them up or just go on?
We'll wait on you.
Okay. We usually have these already up here. I can type. Okay. All right, so our first case is Planning Commission's recommendation to approve Z24100002 with conditions. This was a rezone of 52.794 acres from A1 to R1 OSC for residential subdivision. Applicant and owner is Alcovey Development Group, LLC. Property is located on Alcovey Station Road. This is in District 5. It was approved with, there were 13 conditions. And Chairman, do you want me to read those out as well?
Unfortunately, you have to.
Okay, I can do that. Number 1, evergreen plantings along the western property line. Number 2, 25% of the property will be open space. Number 3, neighborhood to be controlled by a mandatory homeowners association with design and building covenants and restrictions. Number 4, minimum square footage. A ranch would be 2,200, a two-story house would be 2,400. Number 5, lots should be graded for water to flow away from the homes to the stormwater ditches. Number 6, curb and gutters required. Number 7, minimum overflow density to be 1 unit per acre with a maximum of 47 lots. Number 8, minimum yard size, front 40-foot setback, the rear is 40-foot, side is 15. Number 9, all homes shall comply with Walton County specific regulations for single-family dwellings in A, A1, A2, R1, R2, and R3 zoning categories. Number 10, all dwelling facades shall be constructed of wood, siding, and cement fiber siding, brick, stone, stucco, and other masonry-type products. Vinyl and aluminum siding is prohibited. Number 11, yards shall have sod per county standards. Number 12, all shingles shall be architectural. Number 13, all homes shall obtain approval of the ARC prior to beginning construction of the home. The declaration shall provide design standards for not only the home, but the yard, fences, and retaining walls, and a specific list of restrictions for the development. There was some opposition, but like I said, it was recommended for approval with those conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to open a public hearing on this request and ask if the applicant is here or applicant's representative, please come up and inform the board what your client or you're wanting to do.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Gray, and this evening I'm representing the Alcovy Development Group and the request for a rezoning for a residential development called Green Valley Farms. Specifically, the request is to rezone 52.794 acres on Alcovy Station Road from A1 to R1 OSC for a conservation-focused development with 47 quality homes developed by a local Walton County builder. As Ms. Sharna showed you, the property is located on Alcovy Station Road. It's just east of the Cornish Creek Watershed Protection District, so we're just outside of that. And we're also just south of the city limits of Jersey. Here's a little closer view of the property. It's outlined in green there. You can see that it is surrounded by some other A1 properties. A lot of the properties, particularly across the road, are being developed into homes, but they have significant limitations for being in the watershed protection district that we do not have on our property. Here's the 2022 comprehensive planning map. You'll see that our property is in the suburban character area, which according to the plan says that this area is planned to accommodate the majority of new residential growth. And R1 OSC is a contemplated zoning within that district area. Here's a site plan that was included in the application. We've added green here so you can see the 25% open space areas. Also added some green trees there so you could have a visual of where we would do the evergreen plantings on that western border. We'll have a very attractive entrance off of Alcovy Station Road. In front of our property, so between Alcovy Station Road and our property line, there are 9 lots there that are already being developed by the same builder that would develop our development here. There are 3 cul-de-sacs in the development, which is a variety of housing options, given that the area is mostly like linear neighborhoods, right, with homes built on main roads. This would give homeowners the option to purchase within a subdivision where entering and exiting from your home is a little bit safer when you're on a cul-de-sac neighborhood. The lot sizes in here range from 0.59 acres to 1.05 acres. The density is a little bit less than that allowed under the OSC zoning, so we're at 0.89 lots per acre. Again, as Ms. Sharna read in the conditions, which I will not go back over for your benefit, but mandatory HOA, 25% open space, sidewalks, street lights, underground utilities. This will be a curb and gutter development, so it'll be a step above what it could be. You could have a rural residential. Very quality development that we're proposing here. We are proposing to exceed ordinance requirements on the homes. Ordinance requires 1,800 square foot for single and 2-story homes. We're proposing 2,200 for single story and 2,400 for the two-story. And as I said before, we're a little bit under the density and a little bit over on the open space requirement. Here's some representative homes that the home builder we're working with has built. The local home builder is K&M Home Builders, who you may know. They will develop a variety of architectural styles for visual interest. The exterior materials, as Ms. Sharner read out, would be cement siding, stone and brick accents, roof pitch variations, board and batten, eave details. Would be a mix of 2- and 3-car garages and, of course, sodded front yards. Here's some additional depictions of what the homes would look like. There was maybe 15 or more in the application packet. Key points to take away about this zoning is that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's consistent with the R1 OSC ordinance requirements. We're not asking for any variances under that zoning. It's consistent with the market demand for quality homes on more manageable size lots. Consistent with market demand for interior road neighborhood versus linear neighborhood lots, having those cul-de-sacs is a draw. It's consistent with the county's conservation initiatives with the 25% open space and the OSC zoning in general. And again, we have a local builder here that's got a reputation for quality construction. We have had coordination with the adjoining property owners. With the first Planning Commission meeting, I met with them for about an hour after that meeting on the front steps here. I got contact information, and then we sent them out emails with additional information about the project. We also sent an invitation to schedule a meeting with us. We sent them a sign-up genius with dates during the day, and the weekday evenings, and on the weekends. We had one taker that took us up on that offer, and we had a very productive call with her on a Saturday. So based on the feedback from that call, the meeting I had with them at the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission meeting last month, we took that feedback. We understood that there was concerns about visibility of our development from other properties, hence our agreements to add the plantings on the western boundary of the property to accommodate or mitigate that concern. Again, we heard concerns about lot sizes, home values, traffic, speed, and so based on the combination of what we heard is how we derived the conditions that we proposed, which were the 13 that Sharna read, and again, I will not put you through that again, but just to highlight some of the kind of above and beyond conditions, of course, the evergreen plantings along that western border, and then most importantly, I think, the sizes of the homes. We can't control market prices, but we can control the quality of what we're building and the size of what we're building, and so the 2,200 and 2,400 square foot is a condition we've agreed to that kind of pushes us above and beyond. And then again, curb and gutter. You could do a rural road residential subdivision here, but we think it'll be a much nicer development and will draw more people if it's curb and gutter. And so that was the rationale behind our conditions. So with that, again, we ask that you accept the Planning Commission's recommendation to rezone the property on Alcovy Station Road from A1 to R1 OSC with the conditions as proposed. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions? Not at this time. Is there anyone else here in favor of this development that would like to speak? Seeing none, those of you here in opposition of this development, we'll open it up to you now. Please try not to state the same reason. We get it. If it's traffic, one person can bring up traffic, but please come forward and state your name and where you live and your opposition.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Steve Covert. I'm a resident of Walton County, have been for just over 4 years now. Live in South Walton, kind of close to where this is proposed to be. The character of our area is two acre lot sizes, more or less, and the homes being developed by the others that I see along those roads, which are, taking the place of some of the cattle farms and hay farms, are, by the visual sight, are holding to that 2 or 2.25 acre, it seems to be, that size lot. Okay, these are 47 houses on 52 lots, and part of that's being reserved for, community, whatever. It's the lady referred to it as a subdivision. I want to say it's out of character with that area. Subdivision seems to me to belong in a city, not in a county, and I want to preserve Walton County as a rural, semi-rural area that it is. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Hang on, any questions from the board? Thank you, sir. Please. This is not a schoolroom. Line up and everybody gets to say their say.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm Thomas Carter, and my wife and I, we live on the north side adjoining the subject property. And my major concerns are surface and soil, subsurface water contamination. We're on the north side, but we're downgrade from this property. So the majority of the water that runs off this property runs over into our property, then on down into the Flat Creek area. So the Flat Creek is a recipient, ultimate recipient of all the water from here.
Hang on just a second. Councilor Sharner, can you put the plat?
Looking at the topo maps.
Yeah, or just pull the plat up so we can see where in relation your property is to this property.
I can get this mouse to work with me. Okay.
Don't know.
I know, right? Okay. So where are you in relation to the?
We're on the north side. This right here, this is our farm right here.
All right, and this
okay,
is about 89 acres.
The one with cows.
We have cattle operation on the property. That's another concern, is that we get that such high density of a subdivision over there right bordering our farm. We're going to be receiving complaints for our cattle operation all the time. That's one thing. But when it rains, and I farmed that property for, good gracious, since the 80s. And when it rains on that piece of property, it all goes down towards our land down there. There's a wet weather pond that used to hold water, but it's developed leaks over the years, so the water goes in, but it'll run across the driveway on down through there. So then, with that many blooming houses, you've got a lot of septic tanks. And we're on wells over there. We don't use city water on our farm. We've got 2 wells, and I think maybe some of the other neighbors are worried about that too. But those are my major concerns I just wanted to bring to you, that we're worried about the surface and the subsurface water quality, and people complaining about our cows. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please. At least you don't have chicken houses. I grew up with them.
Hey, my name is Alicia Warlock, and my property directly connects to this rezone development. I have something kind of prepared that I'm going to read, but I'm also going to go off script too here and there. I wanted to bring up the last meeting. I, as well as other constituents here in opposition, we felt unheard and our opinions discarded, and this was at the Planning Commission. I'm not familiar with the means by which Walton County conducts business, but it would seem as though we, the voters, should have a prevalent voice, especially when it affects something within our community, and I hope y'all understand that. I found it quite bizarre, the concern from the Planning Commission chair with regards to the profitability of the developer without taking into consideration that he, the developer, put himself in this situation, and let me explain why. One, he purchased land without a contract contingency based upon by purchasing the land without a contract contingency based upon a rezone or rezoning prior to closing. So he made that decision on his own. And 2, he also is building, well, the developer owns, and now the builder is building, those 9 properties, there are 9 2-acre properties that actually are in the watershed, the Cornish Creek watershed.
They have to be 2 acres if
They
they're
do.
in the watershed.
Yes. So what they have done is they quickly built upon those 9 2-acre lots, and they have pretty much pushed the rest into a situation where hopefully you are forced, they're looking at it as you're forced to approve this rezone. So we, as the constituents, we don't agree with that. We do not want this half-acre.
When you say we, you're representing yourself and your husband.
And the constituents, the people that are here. So we're all talking
Okay.
amongst each other. So by quickly developing the 9 2-acre lots in front of the proposed rezone on Alcova Road without taking into consideration the acreage that may be needed to effectively develop the property, these 2 actions were intentional and deliberate by the developer. My question to the commissioners is, does the developer have any accountability when they're making these plans? And why should we, as the community, be forced to accept their rezone? And I don't.
Well, the community has input with the board. We have our codes, and if the property owner has constitutional rights to the highest and best use of his property, and if the highest and best use is limited to 2 acres for one house, then that's the most he can do. If the highest and best use is 1 acre, and he's got water, which justifies 1 acre, then that's a justifiable constitutional issue.
But would that be in consideration, considering he has put himself in this situation by developing the 9 2-acre lots?
We don't make the business decision of any developer.
But you're basing your decision based upon,
We're based on the property and whether it qualifies or not.
so I've made that point, we'll continue.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
I don't
sorry.
want to go back and forth with you. So a couple of bullets here, all the properties in the area, so that's east, north, west, south, including the new homes being built, which Andrea Gray had mentioned, are maintain the A1 zoning designation. There's no property in the area that does not have the A1 designation. The infrastructure is not capable of handling the traffic brought on by R1 or R1 OSC housing developments at this time, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on this here a little bit later on. As a community, we do not want to set precedent in the area for R1, even when the OSC designation. The rezone is not in character with the surrounding area, and an OSC designation is not necessary when you have larger land lots that are zoned A1. I would even be acceptable to an A2 rezone, but we are not,
Which we have people putting chicken pens beside an $800,000 house on a 2-acre lot because it's zoned agriculture.
and you want to know something?
And,
I would accept.
you know, it's a two-edged sword.
I know.
Agriculture is great, and I grew up on a farm. But when the pig pen goes in next door because your 4-H kid is showing pigs and there's nothing you can do about it, the neighbors raise hell. And I get calls every week on these A1 rezones out there.
Well, I'm not sure of the community that you're living in specifically, but our community, we have a very tight-knit, close community. It is agricultural. There's farmland. We have chickens. We have donkeys.
I'm familiar with it.
So you probably know the area.
Dale Wiley, right down below y'all, has all his land in the conservancy.
Yeah, and that property that they're asking to rezone borders the watershed, the Cornish Creek watershed overlay. And some of that property, of course, the 9 2-acre lots
Right.
is in that overlay. So based upon the feedback in the application, the following comments from Walton County agencies. So inside of the application, certain agencies made comments, and I think this is quite important considering this rezone and what the agencies have replied back to. So the Public Works have said that Public Works recommends that a traffic count study be conducted to evaluate the need for a possible turn lane due to volume and speed for safety concerns, and that a decel lane and acel taper to be installed. That's a really significant change of character of that area, and this has not been done. The Sheriff's Department comment, the increased residential population in the county as a whole will cause increased response times across the board for calls for service. Increased response times for calls for service will result in countywide citizen complaints. I can tell you, I live out there, takes them forever to get there. God forbid you have an emergency, because it's 35 to 45 minutes before they arrive. Fire Department review, they said additional fire and EMS response needed due to population increase. Board of Education said additional teachers and buses. So it does significantly impact that area, and that impact, according to what the agencies have responded to, cannot withstand the infrastructure that is present currently. And now going on to your 2022 comprehensive plan, yes, this area is designated for future use of suburban, but when you read the comprehensive plan, there's conditions. So throughout the comprehensive plan, it states care should be taken not to spur unwanted growth by inappropriate expansion of infrastructure capacity. So you need the infrastructure there before you start rezoning and building these houses. That has not even been taken into consideration. In this comprehensive plan, the goals and policies are to preserve natural and cultural resources by concentrating development in and around established areas, encourage development within nodes at major intersections where infrastructure is available. Another bullet was anticipate and control impacts and opportunities associated with nearby growth, including traffic, development patterns, and aesthetics, natural resources, and increased interest and attention. So again, the comprehensive plan is yelling at us that we need the infrastructure prior to building. Under the population, community, and governance, it says needs and opportunities identified through public surveys, that's us constituents, that relate to population, community, and governance are as follows. The needs are numerous community survey results indicate that transparency in local government decisions and opportunities to participate or comment on decisions and decision-making should be improved. So we need more communication, and that's why we're here. We do appreciate you giving us the time to rebuttal the rezone. Also in the plan, improvements in infrastructure capacity and maintenance are essential to keep up with the needs of a growing population. Again, the infrastructure is not in place.
We catch your infrastructure. You've mentioned it 9 times now.
I know.
I ask you not to repeat issues. You're taking up a lot of time hammering issues that we've already covered.
I'm almost done right here. So planning land use and housing. The needs are that survey results indicate a significant need to reduce suburban expansion through the county, future land use map, and rezoning decisions. That is prevalent here. Several residents expressed desire to concentrate higher density cluster neighborhoods within the various city limits located throughout the county instead of unincorporated areas. There is a need for consensus on what the community and local leadership want this future to be. There seems to be a strong desire among residents in eastern Walton County to maintain a rural character in the area, and that's what we're looking for. The opportunities were to review and amend the local zoning and development ordinances to better define subdivision characteristics reminiscent of the surrounding area as necessary. Again, we are A1 zoning. And finally, the comprehensive plan for this area does not allow for the rezone, but the comprehensive plan for this area does not allow for the rezone, but as stated within the plan, it would appear any rezone is conditional based upon the infrastructure. What the commissioners decide on this rezone issue will solidify each district's position on whether you stand with the constituents in this community or with the developer who made a bad business agreement without a contingency by choice and then develop haphazardly. We rely on each of you to support our community. And that is all I have. I do have one question, though, if you don't mind me asking.
This is not a question and answer with this board. State. I mean, the board can ask you questions and you can make your statements, and if they want to reply to them, the developer can answer questions.
Okay, well then I will not ask the question, but I will put my input on what I see as conditions if you do approve it as is. Is that acceptable to you?
You can make your statements on it, and, you know, I got a little irritated with you, and I apologize, but when you hammer the same thing over and over and over, I ask not to do that. I understand it's in your area and you're upset, but this board's time's valuable too. And
I did take that in consideration. I understand.
I apologize. It's been a long day for me too.
Yes,
but,
and I do understand that, but understand this is very important to us.
How long have you lived in Walton County?
25 years.
25 years.
And I moved from Gwinnett County, and that is my fear, is that, again.
Well, Walton does not have sewer, so we will never become Gwinnett. It'll be 1 and 2 acre lots.
Well,
and that's a great thing.
Where I lived in Gwinnett County, we had septic, so.
But sewer came and everything changed.
Not in the areas that I lived in, but, you know, I don't know where.
But anyway, does the board have any questions? If not, thank you.
No questions. I would like to add 2 things.
All right.
I would like for the commissioners to acknowledge that I prefer 2 conditions. 1, if it's approved as agreed, there are no variances on this property. So the developer cannot come back, or the builder cannot come back once building has commenced and request administrative variances through the county.
We have not done that. Once a development is approved and specifics are defined, then they have to build it the way it's defined.
You can actually apply for administrative variance through planning and zoning.
You can, on regular property out in the county, you can get
In a residential neighborhood.
You can get a variance. It's called a hardship variance.
But it's still considered, it's on your website, on the planning and zoning website, it's considered administrative variance.
Right.
So that's the application that you fill out.
And that's if, you know, people's parents, one of them die and they want to build a mother-in-law suite behind the house and stuff like that, and they're looked at on case by case.
Well, it doesn't
Conditions.
necessarily have to include that. It could be various different variance requests. It could be reducing the building setback line.
That could not be allowed. Once this thing's approved, it's got to go by code if it's approved. And the same way with if there's a recession and building stops and 10 years goes by, and popular thing is 800 square foot house, they still got to build the 2,200.
So you're saying it doesn't apply, so would you object to putting that in here anyway?
I can't put something in there that counters a function of the county. The appeals or variance process is a process adopted by the whole board and part of our zoning.
Yes, but the developer has issued
That would be like
conditions. This would be a condition
saying I'm
of-
going to stop someone from building a brick house, and they can't never build a brick house.
But it's considered a condition for the
I
developer.
understand what you're asking for, but I would disagree with that.
Well, I would like for you to consider it.
And the board can outvote me.
Well, I'm just saying, I would like for you to consider that, and the consideration of open space cannot be disturbed by removal of dead trees or diseased trees, undergrowth, or to enhance the buffer with additional.
We have codes covering open space. We're not going to put special stipulations on open space. These R1 OSCs across the county have been wonderful. I've got one right next to my 40 acres that I live on. Greatest people in the world live there. This fear-mongering upsets me a little bit. They're building great homes in these. They're not upsetting the water quality. I'm on a well. There's 62 beside me. I don't understand, except for it's something different.
Well, that's fine. You can accept that, but we do not.
I understand.
So-
You don't accept it.
Yeah,
I understand.
But we would be happy.
That's why I hate zoning, period, in this job.
We would be perfectly content with 2-acre lots, even 1.5-acre lots. We would be perfectly fine.
What's the difference?
Those are half-acre.
They cut more grass.
No.
What's the difference?
The difference is the size of the property, the size of the
The
lot.
values of the property, yeah, they built $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes beside my little $375,000 home in a R1 OSC. They really hurt my property values. I mean, the arguments do not fly today. I'm sorry on that part.
I'm not
The
arguing.
water
property
runoff
values.
across his property is a very concern if it's not handled. That's a legitimate concern. I don't like it. It's not a concern of mine.
Well, property values are no concern to me.
Well, I'm going to
That's
ask for the next person.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Please
We
get back.
we generally limit these to 20 minutes. We're working on 30 now, so if the next person could be brief, I'd appreciate it.
I'll be very brief. My name is Renee Wallen. I live on Dally Trail. Before you ask, I've been out here 30 years. And I know you were just now saying that you have all these homes by you. They're probably not on half-acre lots. Since it is the watershed going to Big Flat Creek, and in the spirit of compromise, we were never concerned about trees along Alcovey Road. When we talked with Ms. Gray downstairs, we were concerned with runoff. Mr. Hinton brought up the fact when I had brought up, why don't we just leave it 2 acres, or why don't you change, if you want to change from A1, change it to A2, because that goes right in line with the comprehensive plan, which it says is intended to be compatible with and implement the agricultural and rural character described in the comprehensive plan. That's right in Walton County. Ms. Gray said, well, because the developer can't make as quick as sale or as much money with 2-acre lots, because people that move out here that we want to appeal to don't want to take care of 2 acres. They only want to take care of a half-acre. So in line with your comment that you made as far as like the cattle, the chicken houses, well, the people in our areas, almost everyone does have chickens. They have goats, they have donkeys, horses, cattle. So in a community that has curb and gutter, I mean, in the spirit of compromising, I think, wouldn't it be better, Mr. Hinton said to me, you can't expect him to build 2-acre properties because he can't make enough money by the time he puts in curbs and gutters and paved streets. Well, don't put in curbs and gutters and don't put in a paved street. Do like Turner Farms. I don't live there, but I'm perfectly happy with Turner Farms, and it is a more permeable surface for the water, you know, the rainfall to absorb back into the ground for the wells. Also, I didn't quite understand in the paper that was given out tonight, it says that minimum overall density to be 1 unit per acre with a maximum of 47 lots. But the paper that Ms. Gray had emailed to me, I went over all of the different square footage, and 68% of the lots are on just over a half acre. I mean, like a few hundred square feet over a half acre. There are only 2 of the lots that are over an acre, and they're just over an acre, not very much. So it's like, okay, either this plan here is wrong or this paper is wrong, because they're not 1 unit per acre. Most of them are 25.
The yield on the R1 OSC.
Pardon me?
What the R1 OSC is mandated by the state of Georgia defines 25% green space if the soils by the health department accommodate a smaller lot than the 1 acre. So your 1 acre yield includes the green space. So some lots are 6/10 of an acre, some are 3/4, depending on the soils.
Has that property, I wondered that also, are you telling me that the developer, since he didn't have contingencies before he bought this for the rezoning, are you telling me that he had every one of these lots a perk test done?
Most likely.
Pardon me?
I'd say most likely.
Well, I don't know.
I can tell you, my sister and brother are selling part of a farm that they own, and for 6 months they've been perk testing and looking at it.
Can you answer, has the perk test been done on every lot? But not on every lot, each and every lot?
If it doesn't perk, he doesn't get to build on it.
He doesn't get to put it.
And the county does not do that function. That's the health department.
Which is, pardon me?
He would be crazy not to do the perk on the property.
Well, to me, it would have been crazy to buy property without a contingency, hoping that the zoning was going to be changed unless someone gave him assurances that it would be changed. But like I said, Big Flat Creek, there is an awful lot of wildlife, migratory wildlife, wood duck, woodcock that travels through there. With the homeowners association and the curb and gutter, it's going to mean an awful lot of chemicals that are put on those sodded yards. And like you said, you're going to get complaints. I mean, you already get complaints all the time. I fear that all the people that already live out there with all of these animals, then it's going to be, oh, it stinks. We don't like smelling their chickens. We don't like smelling the cow manure. Whereas if it was just, instead of changed from A1 to R1 to A2, and like I said, in the spirit of compromise, don't put in the curbs and gutters.
You've stated that before.
But when she had said that she got with the people downstairs on the porch, she did, but not one of us ever asked for trees. Her compromise was putting trees along Alcovey. None of us could care less about that. We didn't want all the street lights because that affects how chickens lay with all the lighting in there.
Yes, ma'am. All right, we've covered the agriculture. We've gone way past a lot of time. Is there something that the opposition has not covered? Is there an item that has not been brought up? Then I've got to give the applicant a chance to rebut the opposition by law.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for your comments. I just hit kind of generally, I think I heard several of the same thing a couple times, but I'll start with kind of a bit of a history lesson about the property. The property that we're asking be rezoned was part of the Greendale Farm, which Mr. Carter, he spoke to you, he owns the northern part, and now we own the southern part. The Carter family actually sold that to my client, knowing that it was going to be developed into residential. And again, as I was...
I'll give you all a chance to rebut that, but go ahead.
So he purchased it directly from the Carter family. And anyone moving into the neighborhood would know what uses are in the area when they move in, because they are prior existing uses in that area. I'll hit a couple of items on the 2022 comprehensive plan. Again, this is an area of the county that has been designated for this type of development. The water infrastructure is available to support it. It will be on septic. The comments from the various agencies in the county are the same that I've seen on every zoning that I've ever done in Walton County. This is a 47-lot development, not a 200, 300 unit development. So it would have reduced impacts compared to some of the others that I've seen, that I've done. I think the comments too would be the same if these were all 2-acre lots, because it's just more people coming to our county. But that's the reality. People want to move to Walton County. There's a high demand for this type of development, and there's a high demand for this type of development with an actual traditional, back to a neighborhood with cul-de-sacs feel, with the curb and gutter, with the, that's a amenity, really. I mean, that's a benefit. That makes property values higher, makes maintenance easier. We think there's a real draw for this type of development in this area. And we think it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. To the concerns with traffic, we would be happy to partner with these folks to lobby you all to reduce the speed limit on that road in that area. If that would help alleviate traffic concerns, we'd be all on board with working with those folks from the surrounding areas. With regard to concerns about water runoff, as you know, as we develop this and design it, we're going to have to comply with Georgia state law, which requires that we meet all soil erosion sedimentation requirements. So we cannot design it in a way that would impact the adjoining property owners by law. And so we'll have to go through a rigorous permitting process, showing our plans, and to get approval through the county under state regulations, just to be able to develop it, to make sure that we're not impacting any water runoff. So that is an absolute requirement, again, by law, that we will have to follow. Looking through some of the other comments, again, we feel that the infrastructure is in place to support this development. I think there has been ample opportunity for these folks to have been heard. And I'll just comment on the trees. We added the trees because the one person that took us up on our offer to have a call with her, the one person that responded to me, told us that was a concern. And so we made a change because that one person asked for it to be made. And so we did listen, and we tried to get feedback outside of kind of this more confrontational setting to try to do more of a one-on-one, but didn't have much success with responses on that. So again, we did do the soil analysis, and that plays into our soil erosion and sedimentation plans that will be done. Just trying to check off the list here. I really think I've kind of hit the high points. Again, I heard a lot of repetitive things, and just want to be respectful of your time, but happy to answer any questions that you may have of me.
Okay, any questions from the board? Thank you. The Carters were shaking their head about the sale of the property. Would you like to come back and clarify that, please?
I'm Jane McKissick Carter, and it was my brother that sold that portion of the farm. The farm was laid open into 2 parts, and he wanted to be here, but he is bedridden at this point. He told me that had he known that they were going for a variance to make a subdivision as this is, he would not have sold the property. He was thinking that it would be A2, so that it would be 2 acres and not less.
But he did sell it knowing that it would be developed.
He did sell it knowing that it would be developed, but he didn't know that it would be developed with less than 2 acres.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. We've gone way over time on this. One comment that wasn't brought up by anyone is the homeowners association. These developments have a mandatory homeowner association, which mandates the properties are kept up. Your 2-acre lots with no restriction agriculture. I've seen people put a mobile trailer behind them because they can. And it doesn't protect the value of your homes. That is a plus in any R1 OSC development. It's a mandatory homeowners association, and they rule the roost once they take over. I'll make that comment and ask the board, Commissioner Bradford is his district. He's out sick tonight. Are there any comments from the board?
I have one question.
All right.
Condition number 13.
Yes, sir.
What exactly does that mean, and what is that? How does it differ from number 3?
That condition, you got to have homes established before it comes in place, because the Agricultural Control Committee is the developer to begin with. So you got to have enough homes in there to where, so that one is mute. That would not play into effect until more than 50% of the homes have been sold and the homeowners have taken over the ARC.
Okay. Who proposed that condition? Was that
there happens to be 13 conditions,
Yeah.
and we won't read them again, but 10 of the 13 are presently in our code. The only ones that's not in our code is evergreen planting, the minimum square footage, and the architectural shingles. So the rest of them are redundant.
Okay.
So if a motion is made to approve this, we need to at least delete those 10 so it's not redundant in the records. The 25% is part of the code. The grading and stormwater, the curb and gutter has to be in R1 OSC. Maximum density is 1 house per acre. That's max. This one's 47. I've seen tracts where they do turn out 1.5 acres per house, but they're sitting on 0.6 of an acre because a lot of the land doesn't perk. Any other questions or comments from the board?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
On number 9, it talks about A, A1, A2, R1, R2, and R3 zoning, but it doesn't mention OSC. I want to address the young lady's question about the open space not being disturbed. I'm assuming that's just standard, but can we put that in there to make sure it?
Well, you can have disturbance in the open space. You can have walking trails.
Okay.
Any passive recreation is allowed in open space.
Okay, so but that's covered by open space.
Normally not something that's.
We're looking at mandating walking trails in the larger developments in the open space as an amenity.
And that'll be covered by the open space requirements, right? That's already covered.
Yeah, I don't like seeing the word R2 at all. That's a duplex. R3 is.
Let me explain that real quick, and I think you're talking about doing away with some of these conditions.
Right.
Restatements of what's already in the code.
Correct.
But that's been confusing in other contexts. All it's saying, all that's intended to mean is that all homes have to comply with the single-family dwelling regulations.
Okay.
In fact, whether you build a single-family dwelling in A, A1, A2, R1, R2, or R3, if it's a single-family dwelling, it has to comply with our regulations.
Okay.
Which is like the roof pitch.
That's very
And
confusing.
It's very confusing, and
It doesn't mean that you can go have
a duplex on one of these lots.
Okay.
Okay.
it just means that you have to follow your rules on single-family dwelling.
Okay.
Which are the same, no matter what zoning regulated.
Correct.
Zoning category you're in.
All right, thanks.
But don't let that trip anybody up, although I tend to agree with the chairman. We don't have to have a condition that's already in the code. It's just
Any comments, questions from anybody else? Well, since Commissioner Bradford here, and I get fussed out a lot, I'm going to make a motion that we take the recommendation from the Planning Commission, delete the 10, keep the evergreen planting, the minimum square footage, and the architectural shingles.
Just for clarity, Mr. Chairman, for Rodney, can you identify the numbers?
I can identify the numbers. Number 1, number 4, and number 12 would be the conditions. Everything else is within our regulations. They can't put any vinyl, they can't put any aluminum. I like the increase in the square footage. I'll make that motion whether I get a second or not.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose?
No.
We have 1, Bo Warren. Motion passes 4-1. Next item up, 6.2, approval of rezone for 5.02 acres from A1 to A. I voted. Passes, 5-1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, only 4-1. Bo voted against.
4-1.
It's 4-1. It barely passed. They can get mad at me. I ain't running again. All right, Sharna, you want to do 6.2?
Okay, 6.2, approval of Z24-0007, rezone 5.02 acres from A1 to A to grow and sell produce. The applicant is Jacade Long, owner is Jacade and Rebecca Long. Property is located at 2536 Brindle Farmer Road. This again is in District 4. There was no opposition, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Please come forward. I'll open a public hearing. And I'm proud y'all want to grow produce. I used to do that, believe it or not, a lot.
Yeah, I heard you mention that you grew up on a farm.
I had a produce operation. We had 146 acres of produce.
Yes, sir.
Here in Walton County.
I grew up on a farm, and I remember my grandpa and all my uncles, when that dirt would get tilled, or we would go by the cattle or the chicken coops or whatever, they would always say, "That smells like money."
Well, I guess it has to be changed from A1 to A so he can sell produce, is that?
Yes, sir.
We used to didn't ask permission, we just sold it, you know?
I'm trying to go the right avenues.
All right.
Anyway, I do appreciate your time. I'm not going to take any more of it than necessary. So my intent for this farm is as follows. It will allow us to present for the request for rezoning from 5.02 acres of property from A1 to A as mentioned. The proposal is rooted in the vision of creating a small farm cooperative that will provide fresh, locally grown produce and farm products to our community. This farm aims to directly address the pressing issues of food insecurity, particularly among seniors and beyond. who are increasingly forced to choose between basic needs due to rising cost. Now, a little bit of background very quickly about myself. I worked in the fire service and community risk reduction for many years. I worked very closely with senior centers, and I actually was capable of developing close relationships with many people that were considered seniors and beyond. We would check their smoke alarms. When their smoke alarms would go out of date, we'd go and replace them for free. And many of those individuals at that time, all the way up till 2019, when I elected to take an early out, were making very difficult choices about paying bills such as utilities and things of that nature. But because they worked their entire lives and owned property and a car and things of that nature, they did not or could not qualify for any types of subsidy from the government. I had an individual that was simply told that if he sold his car, then they could help him by giving him $25 a month. And he said, well, how am I supposed to get to my doctor's appointments and go to run the errands? And they told him he could take a taxi cab. And he says, well, there goes that $25 a month. So that is the initiative between and our intent. By supporting this rezoning, the board will enable the establishment of a sustainable community-focused initiative that not only works to alleviate hunger, but also fosters economic growth, strengthens local food systems, and provides vital support to vulnerable populations that include seniors and beyond. This is more than a zoning change. It is an opportunity to build healthier and more resilient and inclusive community systems. So, a little bit of statistics. In 2021, 5.2 million seniors were food insecure, a figure that has increased since that moment. This issue disproportionately affects rural communities where 15.4% of households face food insecurity in 2023. This data comes from USDA food security reports and Feeding America. The choices between essentials. Nearly 14% of seniors have had to skip meals to satisfy basic needs like electricity and medication. Rising cost means many must decide between groceries and utility bills. Cost increase. Seniors report monthly spending increases of $100 to $300 due to inflation. Groceries, heating, and electricity are among the hardest hit sectors. Many seniors do not qualify for federal or government subsidies, which provide critical food or access to critical food. Food insecurity would be even higher without programs like SNAP. But the SNAP program has seen reduced pandemic-era benefits, and those sources are Feeding America as well, and the National Council on Aging. Health implications. Diet-related conditions, poor nutrition among seniors contributes to higher rates of chronic conditions. So proposed benefits of rezoning. Increased availability. Rezoning would allow the creation of a small farm cooperative that grows and sells fresh, affordable produce directly to local markets, reducing reliance on costly supply chains. Targeted support. The co-op would provide free food to seniors who fall through the gaps of government assistance, directly addressing their nutritional needs and reducing financial stress. The economic and community growth, stimulating the local economy, selling farm produce to grocers, restaurants, and residents creates jobs, promotes business partnerships, and keeps resources within this community. Sustainability. The revenues from retail and wholesale operations would offset the cost of free food distributions. Healthier diets. Improved access to fresh food combats diet-related illnesses. Educational opportunities. The farm.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
But we know the benefits of farming.
Oh, yes, sir.
I don't think you have any opposition, do you?
I don't know that.
Well, you don't have to overkill with this board on, on the benefits of growing, on the benefits of growing produce. And since we've already had a long previous meeting, does the board want to ask him any questions about his particular operation?
I'll just make a statement, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for doing this.
Yes, sir.
And I know you're running a business, not a charity.
Yes, sir.
But if you see any opportunity to bring our younger generation into that process through schools, through our cooperative extension program, through 4-H.
There's plenty of opportunity for that.
You would have the support of this board to do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Long.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else here want to speak in favor of this rezoning? Anyone want to speak against it? Then I'm going to close this public hearing and ask this board what they want to do.
I'd like to move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. You got 100% approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a blessed night.
Good luck.
Next time. Okay.
3.84 acres to create 2 buildable lots.
Yeah, so this one was fairly simple. Rezone 3.84 acres from A1 to A2 to create 2 buildable lots. Applicant owner is Blue Wolf Homes LLC. This is why you want me to read this. Andre Lukian. Property located at 6300 Highway 81. And this is in District 1. And this gentleman he presented at the Planning Commission that they want to be able to split this property to build a house for himself and his parents, or for his father.
He's got the road frontage needed to split it into
Yes,
2
sir.
lots? Okay.
Yes, sir. And there wasn't any opposition.
All right, is the applicant here? Want to tell us real quick? Please come forward, sir. And if there wasn't no opposition, be real quick. Tell us what you're going to do.
Well,
All right, let me open a public hearing and state your name and your address and what you want to do, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Andre Lukian, and we want to build just 2 buildable lots, one for me, one for my parents, and that's about it.
That's basically it.
That's basically it.
Okay, any questions from the board? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here in opposition to this young man wanting to split this property into 2 lots? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, ask the boards there.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes, sir. Thank you. And dog training.
Yes, sir. Okay, let me pull this one up. Okay. 6.4, approval of Z24-0023. This is to rezone 2 acres from A1 to A for dog training and to have customer contact. The applicant is Hadley Reed Santos. Owners are Clifford JT and Hadley Reed Santos. The property is located at 2958 HD 8th Road, and this is in District 4. This one was pretty simple as well. There was no opposition, and the Planning Commission recommended approval with no conditions.
Okay. Is the applicant here like to come and tell us what you want to do?
Hi, my name is Hadley Santos. I live on this property. I am a dog trainer with a company located in Sandy Springs, Georgia, called Comprehensive Pet Therapy. We do a lot of service dog training. I've trained service dogs from like mobility service dogs, seizure detection, mental health support dogs, and also just pet training, companion dogs as well, show dogs, everything in between. Currently, I meet like customers on site and stuff like that, and I want to just be able to put a building in the back to have an office and interior kennel space. That way I can meet clients interiorly and not have to go out in public areas to meet, especially because some of my service dogs are with autistic children. So having a safe space interiorly, not in a public space, would be very beneficial, and also have my home space and workspace. And so I'm trying to think anything else require any questions, I guess, on that.
Okay. Are there any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Will you be keeping dogs long period of times during training in the kennels?
Usually when I have service dogs, they stay a period of time, but it's like, 3 to, I think the most I've ever kept one is about 4 months. But most of the time I'm doing periods of time where, like, if we're starting off with puppy, they start off like 1 to 2 months, go home for a period of time until they're about a year, and then come back for another period of time for training. It's only me as a small operation, so I'm not keeping a large amount of dogs. Dogs aren't being kept outside in kennels, barking, anything like that. All of them are house pets.
It's just a question.
Okay, yeah, I just want to mention, they're not going to be like rows of kennels full of dogs in the middle of my property.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board? Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone here want to speak against this proposal? If not, I will close this public hearing and ask the board what they want to do.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, we have one more planning and development, the acceptance of the right-of-way, Cotton Creek Estates and Riverwalk subdivision.
Right, these are subdivisions that have been recorded, and the roadways are being accepted for the record.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve the acceptance of these?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We got a motion?
Second.
We got a second?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Likewise. All right, we're down to the administrative consent agenda. You've had a chance to review that. Included in that are the December 3rd minutes, the purchases over $25,000, a declaration of surplus, and acceptance of Atlanta Hawks Foundation grant for Parks and Rec. Any questions on those? If there are not any, I accept a motion to approve the administrative consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We got a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we need to do a resolution setting time, dates, and locations of the regular monthly meetings for this next calendar year. You were given a proposal. Does anyone have a problem with those months? The February meeting especially will be the 11th because our clerk and assistant clerks got school and classes during that.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve? Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. You have a proposal before you, a purchase agreement of Zoll Medical Corporations. These are for defibrillators and monitors that we need. Is subject to review by the county attorney because there is a purchase lease agreement in here. Appears to be total price $361,354. and we've been requested to approve this by Ronnie Allman.
Approve this. Ronnie's done a lot of work on this, and it'll greatly enhance the equipment that are on our ambulances.
On our ambulances, so entertain a motion that we approve this.
I make a motion to approve with the attorney's due diligence.
Subject to review by the attorney. I'll second, so we can go ahead. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. All right, we have a bid on the concrete at Ayers Park Pickleball. That's the one I got crossed up.
Yeah, this is for the concrete work, 8 pickleball courts and parking and dumpster pad. I'm asking the board to accept the proposal by Atlanta Best Concrete in the amount of $278,750.
Entertain a motion to approve that. It was bid, and he was the best bidder.
I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. It's time for appointments, gentlemen, and the ones I can make, I'm going to go ahead and make, and if y'all second approve. For county clerk, I make motion Rhonda Hawk continue as our county clerk.
I'll second that motion.
We got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Assistant County Clerk Gretchen Thurman. I make that motion that she continue in that position.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. County Attorney has been Atkinson Ferguson, and I don't believe anyone wants to change. They have been excellent. Kudos. And the contract's same as last year. So I make a motion, we continue with Atkinson Ferguson as our county attorney.
I second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Tim Sheldon has been our vice chairman. I don't have a problem making a motion that he continue in that role, if you'll do that. We got a second?
You can't vote against yourself now.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. The Joint Development Authority board representation has typically been the chairman. I've been doing it, but I can't nominate myself.
I make a motion for David Thompson for Joint Development Authority.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Walton County Development Authority, Shane Short has recommended, he's head of runs our development authority, that Morris Jordan be put back on the Walton County Development Authority. I'll make that motion. Second. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
John spoke to Commissioner Bradford, and he's presently on the Hard Labor Creek Reservoir Management Board, and our new commissioner, Pete Myers, has extensive background in water lines and piping, and Lee said he didn't have a problem with Pete taking his position on that board, so I'll make a motion that Pete Myers replace Lee Bradford's position on the Hard Labor Creek Reservoir Management Board.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. And the Board of Tax Assessors are recommending that Bobby Garrison be reappointed to the Tax Assessors Board, and I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Thank Hopefully, no one signed up for public comment. Are there any announcements? There's no need for executive session. Entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?